Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Feisty Green in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "Relationship Trouble Due to Female Friendship." I have been dating my girlfriend for 9 months and I am fully in love with her. We have talked about marriage and starting a family soon, and she is the one for me. However, we are having major issues over the female friendships I have. I have traveled a lot and have many different friends, both male and female, from various parts of my life. Since high school, I have been best friends with a girl named Emma. We have never had any romantic interest on either side. We went to the same college, worked at the same job for a while, and stayed very close. We would help each other with relationship advice and so on. I also became close platonic friends with no romantic interest on either side with a girl named Anna in college. We stayed friends and traveled together in our 20s. When my girlfriend and I started our relationship, in the first couple of weeks, she got upset about comments Anna made on one of my posts on Instagram and did not believe me when I said our relationship was platonic. Out of respect for this, I stopped really responding to Anna, effectively ending our friendship, which I regret. Because of this, I was scared to tell my girlfriend that I had a best friend in Emma, so I did not. This was a major mistake. I should have been open from the start and really regret it. A couple of months ago, my girlfriend saw texts from Emma and asked who she was. She got very upset, justifiably, that I had a close female friend I had not told her about. The texts were Emma asking when I was free to give her a call back, and my girlfriend took this as us going behind her back. She assumed that since I had not told her, I was being shady with Emma or pursuing a romantic relationship. She gave me an ultimatum that I had to cut off Emma, block her on everything, or our relationship was over. To save the relationship, I did this and thought I could move forward. However, I have now become resentful of my girlfriend, especially because that she has a male best friend and other male friends as well. She was open about these friendships from the beginning, which was my mistake in not doing the same. I never used to be jealous of this, and I trusted her, but I have become resentful that she can have these male friendships and I cannot have female friendships. She has been treated poorly in past relationships and has been hurt and cheated on, so I understand her perspective, and I really wish I had not caused this problem by not being upfront. I am struggling to get over my jealousy and resentment. I feel very guilty for just cutting Emma off like that. She used to really rely on me for advice and friendship. Do I just need to get over this? Any advice? I really love my girlfriend so much and want to find a way to make it work. Thank you. Update. I previously posted about my girlfriend getting really mad at me over my female friendships and making me cut off my best friends. I recently went through her texts for the first time since we started dating about 9 months ago and found that she has consistently been texting this guy who is around 30 years old, whom she had told me was just a friend. She says they only hooked up once, well before we started dating, and the texts back this up, but they have had sexual and flirty texts going on for months, and that she sent him one nude photo. I am crushed. She is extremely apologetic, swears she is going to change, sent a text cutting the guy off, says she is willing to go to therapy and will do anything to keep me. She said she was projecting her insecurities onto me regarding my friends, and says I can have my friends back and so on. I have texted my friends whom I cut off, but they, very understandably, have not responded. She says she will do anything for a second chance. I do love her very much still, but I do not know if I am crazy for putting up with this and giving her another chance. User Mr. DeBurke said, "She says I can have my friends back. Wow, how magnanimous of her." To this comment, Aria Cannot Sing said, "If I were OP and had any doubts about whether to leave, this would result in my dust outline as I bolted. I would just ghost her, to be honest. She knows what she did." Substantial Remove said, "My dude, find your balls." This next post was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named I Am Not Lindsay Nagel. The post is titled, "I locked myself in my office when we have company." I'm a 36-year-old woman who took in my mother during the pandemic after some medical issues. I never made her move out afterward. It works for us. She has her own bedroom and bathroom. We share other spaces, and I work from home most of the time, so I can look after her. My stepfather died about a decade ago, and she was lonely. It made sense for us. As mentioned, I work from home most of the time, and many times I am in some kind of Teams meeting or call, so I do not really have time for a chit-chat during office hours. My mom's sister, also known as my aunt, tends to drop by unannounced to visit with my mom, which I do not really mind, but she has a tendency to step into my office without knocking while I'm working and start talking to me about her neighbor's sister's kid who did so-and-so. I have more than once explained to her that I am working or I am on a call and cannot really chat right now, but she just keeps talking like nothing happened. Today, she actually announced to my mom that she was coming over. I reminded my mom to tell her that I am working and on calls and cannot be disturbed, and my mom agreed she would tell her not to bother me. But just to be safe, I locked my office door so she could not walk in. Despite my mom telling her, she came upstairs and tried to open the door. When it did not open, she started knocking and calling out, "Hello, it's me, open up." I did not respond at first as I was on a call with a client, but she kept banging on the door so loudly that I ended up having to put the client on hold. I told her without opening the door that I was on a call and could not talk right now, and my aunt left in a huff. Now she is bombarding my mom with texts about how rude I was for locking myself in my office knowing she was coming over. So, am I the asshole? Update. I went to dinner for a few hours and returned to Reddit only to find out that this has exploded. First of all, thank you all for your confirmation that this is not on me. I did not think I was the asshole, but there is always that hint of doubt where you wonder, maybe I should have poked my head out and said hello really quickly, but the truth was that it was a busy day and I just did not have the time. Now for the update. After I finished my workday, I took my mom out for dinner and we discussed the matter. She had not responded to any of her sisters, my aunt's texts, because she is fully on my side. I know people are asking why my mom did not stop her. My mom is not very mobile anymore, and my aunt simply got up from her seat and took off upstairs despite my mom's warning. We discussed it over dinner and agreed that my aunt simply is no longer welcome during office hours, since it is the only way to stop this behavior. Either she can pick up my mom to go to a coffee shop and talk, come after office hours, or come over on the one day I work in the office. My aunt seems pretty upset about it, calling their brother, my uncle, to complain as well, but he texted me earlier saying he told her how wrong she was, and apparently her husband also told her she was wrong. So now she is currently stomping her feet at home because everyone is telling her she is wrong. Delightful woman, she reminded me to one day post a story about her Disneyland trip. Update to the update. Here is the short version of the Disneyland story. She has twin boys, and for their birthday, she booked a trip to take them and one of their friends to Disneyland. The friend ended up canceling at the last minute and told me that if I paid the friend's share, I could go. That seemed reasonable enough, so I thought, why not? I was 16 at the time. This story is about 20 years old. I am European, so this is Disneyland Paris I am talking about, and I am not from France, so this was an international trip, which becomes important later. My cousins were around 10 years old at the time. Anyway, we were in the parks, and she had already been difficult the whole trip, but I was dealing with it. On the last day, about 5 hours before we had to take our train back home, an international train with customs and so on, similar to a plane but with less boarding time, one of my cousins wanted to go on the rock and roll roller coaster while the other did not. The line was about 5 minutes or less, so my aunt told me to go with him and she would wait at the exit with our bags. So I left my bag containing my phone, my identification, my money, everything in her care. 10 minutes later, my cousin and I got off the ride and she was gone. I started looking around and could not find her. After half an hour of waiting, thinking perhaps they had gone to the bathroom, still nothing. We checked the bathrooms, neighboring rides, nothing. I had no phone to call her, and with our train leaving in 4 hours, I was getting nervous. I was a 16-year-old with a 10-year-old in hand and no money, no identification, no phone, nothing. I decided to go to the Lost Children's Department and explain my situation. They called her through the park's intercom, but after another hour, still no aunt. I remembered my dad's phone number back home, so I used Disney's landline to call him. him. He tried calling her cell phone and my cell phone, but got no response whatsoever. At this point, with about an hour or less before the train left, I was in hysterics because I could not board the train without money or identification, let alone with another minor in my care. My cousin, seeing my panic, was crying his eyes out, so I was also dealing with a scared child while I was barely more than a child myself. My dad eventually told me it made no sense for him to drive out to Paris right then and suggested I go back to our hotel. He would pay for another night and come pick us up in the morning. So I took my cousin back to the hotel and explained the situation. The receptionist heard me say my name and said, "Oh, sweetheart, I have a note for you." It was a note from my aunt. "Gone to dinner, see you on the train." At this point, I had half an hour to run to the station, hoping we would still get through customs, where she was supposed to be waiting. I made it with 15 minutes to spare, out of breath and fuming. We managed to get through customs, goodness only knows how, and got on the train just as the doors closed. I called my dad to explain the update, and he was also angry at this point. My aunt turned to me and said, "I do not know why you are so mad. I left a note at the hotel and I brought you something to eat," and handed me a dinner roll. I took my things, went to the dining car with my cousin, whom she had also almost abandoned, and bought him the biggest slice of chocolate cake my budget allowed, and never returned to our seats to talk to her. Darjeeling Bubble said, "That Disneyland update. Dear Lord, the aunt is such a feckless piece of trash. How anyone is still in contact with her is beyond me." User Who's Mimi said, "If someone had abandoned my child in a foreign country the way that woman did, there would be no coming back from that. They would be dead to me." This final post was made in the relationship subreddit by a user named Stomatella. The post is titled, "My boyfriend and I had an argument that is giving me red flags. Is it enough to end our years-long relationship? My boyfriend and I have been together for over 5 years and have lived together for 1.5 years now. For context, I was getting ready to go to a Halloween potluck with some of my girlfriends and their respective boyfriends. While I was getting ready, my boyfriend began discussing the idea of a curfew with me, explaining that no woman should be out late because nothing good happens late into the night and that I should not be out until 3 o'clock in the morning. I explained that I did not want to be out that long, but the idea of him putting a curfew on me made me uncomfortable. He told me that unless he was physically there with me, I, a female, should not be out of the house late and at a party. I told him there was no need for him to be this controlling with me and that I was confused since he had never done anything like this before. I go to social events pretty regularly, but rarely go to parties like this, maybe once every 3 months. He was also invited twice to come to this party with me and declined. I asked my boyfriend why he was saying all this and he said, "I have standards. These are my standards. If you do not like them, you do not have to live with me anymore. I am not budging on this." He then explained, "Now I expect you home at 1 o'clock in the morning because you're pissing me off, but I should be saying 11 o'clock at night." This freaked me out. I packed a bag, left for my parents' house, and have not been back since. I do not know what to do from here. I want to emphasize that he has never done anything like this before, which really threw me off, and is why I am asking for advice on an internet forum. I left the house crying and upset, and my boyfriend has not reached out in over 72 hours to check in or initiate a chat. Ideally, I would like a conversation to be started by him, but I am convinced my boyfriend has no shame for his actions, and believes I am the one in the wrong. Please let me know what you, an unbiased random internet stranger, think about this situation. I love the relationship my boyfriend and I have built together, but this seems like a huge red flag to me. Update. This update is not easy for me to write, but I am moving out of state next week, and I want to put this out to finally lay this chapter of my life to rest. The argument from the post occurred on Saturday late afternoon. I posted to Reddit a few days later after I had not heard from M. By Wednesday, I had placed an order for a small U-Haul truck to move out the following Saturday, the soonest time my family could help. But I still had not heard from him. My family thought it best not to tell M25 that I was coming to pick up my belongings until the day of, because we were afraid he would destroy my things. M25 is an extreme minimalist, so all the furniture, decor, tools, and so on came 100% out of my pocket. At that point, I had thousands of dollars worth of belongings in there, and even more invaluable mementos. Anyway, Saturday comes around. I still had not heard anything on his end. I texted M25 that morning telling him my parents were coming to remove my belongings and to please be out of the house while they did so. He texted me back, "No, stop telling me what to do." At this point, he knew they were coming and exactly when. For my safety, I stayed home. When my parents got there, my mother knocked on the door. No answer. Doorbell. No answer. I texted her to go into the garage and see if M25's vehicle was there. The garage opened and he had thrown my belongings into the garage. Things were scattered about the garage floor, whatever. They noted that his vehicle was there though, so he must be inside. My family started grabbing stuff from the floor and putting it into the truck. M25 comes out. My mother said he looked almost psychotic. He does not do drugs and was not drinking for health reasons, but he looked off. When he came out, he made it very clear to my mother that he was holding a gun in his sweatpants pocket. He told them to get off his property. My mother asked him if he was all right. Remember, FE25 and I had been together for a long time at this point. My family knows him well. This was all such strange behavior from him, and my mother was genuinely concerned. In response, he told my mom, "I'm fine, why would I not be?" My mom asked if she could go inside and get the rest of my belongings. M25 said no. My mother reminded him that I had been without my essentials for a week now: medication, glasses or contacts, work badge, underwear, and asked to step inside for 5 minutes to retrieve those things. He agreed. My mother walked into the house and saw an AR-57 set up in the kitchen, ready to go. She immediately turned around, told everyone outside, loading the truck to get in the car, and went home. I spent the next few hours trying to arrange a police escort for the rest of my belongings. In hindsight, we should have done that in the first place. While I was working on that, my mom called the homeowners, that is M25's parents, who live 2 to 3 hours away. We told them everything up to that point, and they were distraught. They said they were on their way. Later that evening, we received a call from them stating that M25 was out of the house and being monitored back at their home. We moved everything out afterwards. I got a text from M25 that Sunday where he essentially said that he did not know I was breaking up with him, that he was waiting for me to reach out to him while he was reflecting on everything that happened, and so on. We went back and forth a bit, with me telling him that he threatened my family and that I could not forgive him. He said he wanted to talk about everything, and I told him I was not ready for that. I followed it up with a "you should work on yourself, and if I want to talk, I will reach out" type of text. He responded with a bunch of okay messages and then "just do not fuck your ex. Hate that guy. Heard really bad things about him." He was referring to himself here since he is the only boyfriend I've had. It was super strange and off-putting to receive a joking text like that when a few hours earlier he threatened my family with guns. I ignored him. He also sent an interesting apology to my mother. To me, it seemed like a liability message that his lawyer mother had asked him to send. Highlights included, "I know you felt threatened by what you saw, and there is no excuse for having guns out while people are present at my house. Seeing a gun, concealed or otherwise, in that sort of situation is enough to shock someone, especially those unfamiliar with these weapons, and my parents agree and have asked me to give up my guns until I am more responsible and careful." He texted me again the next day saying, "I know I have acted nonchalant about things and it is not a good habit. I cannot continue to live in limbo. I hope you will come over and talk to me in person. False hope is not doing me any good. I need to move on with my life." I responded, "I do not want to give you false hope, but I am not in a place of forgiveness. I think it is time that we continue to move on with our separate lives." This is when he responded, "Listen, come talk to me. I feel awful that I used your own love for me as a lever against you. I hate the person who did that to you, and every day I try to bury that part of me." There was a lot to digest there. We exchanged a few more texts and I, naively, agreed to have a conversation in person. I would not have it at the house. It would be during the day, and it would be in public. I now understand that I should never have entertained this idea in the first place. I was emotional and confused at that time. I had been with M25 for years at this point and wanted clarity on what drove him to do this. I told him my availability to talk on a Thursday, and he said he was not sure if he was available but would let me know. I did not hear back from him until Thursday at 8:15 p.m. when he asked, "You still coming or not?" A location had not been discussed. It was dark out. I suggested we meet the following morning. That is when he sent 8:30 is late for you now, followed by I said your curfew is 1 o'clock in the morning, so you are good, and just get your ass over here and talk. I am not going this 9 a.m. bullshit, or I will put a scorpion in your bed. I responded and he texted back, I'm on my way. I am sorry, you are what? At this point, I was in a new safe place in location A. My mother was in location B and my father was in location C. I had to call everyone and let them know M25 was going to show up at one of their locations since he knows where they both live. He showed up at location C where my father was. My father told me that he was scared for his safety and home. Luckily, nothing happened. M25 waited outside for a bit after texting me here and left. This whole night rattled me. I stayed up all night, scared he was going to show up at my mom's place next or mine. I ignored his texts. He started to call and left an eerily calm, cool, and collected voicemail, wondering when we were going to chat, saying that if I wanted to have that conversation, OP is welcome to the house whenever. I texted him back, threatening a restraining order if he made contact again. A month later, he texted, hey, obviously what happened. I'm sorry I made you feel unsafe. That's not who I am as a person or who I would want to be. I wish you the best in whatever you do. And that is the last I have heard from him. All of this could have played out way worse. I am relieved for the safety of my family and my own. I am fortunate enough to have gotten out when I did. And yes, I understand things could have been done differently on my end. I learned a lot about myself through this experience. I chose to text M25 in the non-confrontational way I did for my safety. We live in a small community. I genuinely believe this man is dangerous and could harm my family, my dog, my friends, and so on if I angered him. We are all within a mile or two of each other and he knows where to find all of them, and me if he wanted to. I condensed some of the details for the sake of brevity in this post. I have screenshots of all the texts I quoted above. I am happy to answer questions in the comments. Frail Gesture said, yikes, I know we talk about dodging a bullet in these posts, but this lady and her family might have come much closer to literally doing that than many of the stories in this subreddit. To this comment, user Road Goddess said, when I was in university, one of my friends went home over the holidays to break up with her boyfriend there. He asked her to meet him in a parking lot, and he walked up and shot her through the window, then threw a rose on top of her. That was 40 years ago, and I still think about that when people are dealing with breakups with manipulative and controlling individuals. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.